Paul Dioen here for Law School Success, frequently asked questions and questions you should ask. We're making this series of videos for a simple purpose to give you a solid foundation of what you need to do in law school to become successful. We will save you time, money, and effort, and we always promise to be completely truthful with you in everything that we convey to you and the information and secrets that we talk about. Law school can be difficult, law school can be hard, or law school can be very easy. Don't make it hard on yourself. You're in the right place to become a law school success. Let's get started. Questions you should ask number 3. Do law school grades depend only on final exam performance? The quick answer is yes. We're going to talk about the Socratic method and how that leads you into a trap. We're going to talk about the provocation of independent thought, and we're going to give you an example of dissertation and why, if you don't learn this skill properly, you're up the creek without a paddle. Do law school grades depend only on final exam performance? Yes. You get one exam, usually three essay questions, 3 hours, 4 essay questions, 4 hours, whatever. That's it. Whatever grade you get, that's what you're getting. A lot of pressure. So let's see where most students mess up really bad. They follow the Socratic method. Now, the Socratic method is based on questions by changing the facts. So you change the facts, and then you ask how you would apply, quote, an alleged rule of law that you might know. Well, that's the lazy way to do it because it avoids true knowledge. It avoids the necessity of internalization, which means you have to memorize, you have to understand things. There has to be a structure in your mind. There has to be a full understanding of stuff before you can change things. And what you don't change, okay, is the facts. You change the rules of law. That's what you change in a true Socratic method. But it's so easy to change the facts and do it the way the profs do. The only reason they do it is they're lazy. You have to provoke independent thought when you learn how to apply the law, which is what you're trying to do. And in the final exam performance, you're dissertating it. You're trying to regurgitate that law in a proper fashion that shows you have true knowledge. Now, all law is rule-based. If you don't know the rules, you can't provoke independent thought. It's just that simple. If you don't know the rules, there is no independent thought. There's just lots of verbiage coming out of your mouth and ideas and theories which mean absolutely nothing. Okay? So here's how you put all this together, both sides, okay, of the dissertation equation. Law is rule-based, so there's requirements for making legal conclusions. If consideration is the bargain for exchange that induces current performance, offers detriment, and is binding, you got to find every one of those elements before you make a conclusion that there's consideration, before you can answer the interrogatory of whether or not there's an offer. If you don't properly argue all those elements and identify them in the fact pattern, you got nothing. They're going to say conclusory. If you argue that the bargain for exchange is the key issue and you forget the rest, that's conclusory. You're not getting any points. Sorry. You didn't do it right. Okay? Now, here's the evil parts of stuff. Most of the students who buy into the Socratic method, they follow this changing the facts stuff. So what's the first thing they do on an exam? Just what they've been doing in class. They start writing the answer and they start changing the facts. Now, I know a guy in California who's very good at this, and he knows that the students do this, and he tries to beat it in their puny little heads that they have to stop screwing with the facts. Fleming's Fundamentals of Law. First thing he says is just deal with the facts. These are the facts. Don't make up stuff. Okay? You could point out weaknesses in the fact so and so spent all night at Sleazy Lou. We don't know if he's been drinking or not, but he might have been. Okay, that's a pointing out a defect in the fact. But that's not in the facts. We don't know. Okay? So you could point out defects, but when you start changing the facts, you're screwed. The only true graded bar exam in the country is California's. Those questions that answer the thing with changing the facts, those are the ones that go into the D and the F pile. Okay, very quickly too. So you can't change the facts. What do Socratic students who don't know the skill of dissertation, never practice it? That's what they do. Here's another thing they do. Time is your enemy in an exam. 3 questions, 3 hours. You gotta split, you gotta time manage yourself. That takes discipline. That's training. That's skill. That's confidence in your abilities. The idiot student sits there, bell rings, 9 o'clock, man, they're ripping into that sucker. And you can see them reading through the exam, and they finally get to the interrogatory. And you know what's the first thing they start doing? Grab that blue book and they start writing. You can count the number of students that start writing within the first 5 or 6 minutes of an exam. They start writing their answers down within 5 or 6 minutes, and if we put a little marker on their head, we can guarantee who's going to be getting the worst grades in the exam. You don't start writing your exam right away, you nimwit. You read the interrogatory first instead of starting from the top. You got to find out what you're being tested on. Then you split your time up for the first question. And in the first half hour, you're going to become so familiar with the fact pattern you can practically recite it from memory, and you're going to formulate your answer. So what do you do in the first half hour? You read the question over and over and over again. You should be able to read it 6 to 7 times, and while you're doing this, you're formulating all the law that's there. You're making sure you're arguing every single fact that exists in the fact pattern. And this is a discipline. This takes discipline. This takes confidence. This takes training. Without that, you're in big trouble. So in the first half hour, you're getting ready to read, and in the last half hour for that particular question, you're going to write the answer. You can write 900 plus words or not, and if you can't say it in 900 to 1,000 words, it's not worth saying. But you can answer practically any question that's asked on any law school exam in 900 to 1,000 words, and it's real easy to write 900 to 1,000 words in the last half hour. And if you're typing it and you're 60 or 70 word per minute typist, boy, you can even go better than that. You can write a 1,500 word answer real easy. Okay, so and do it right. But see, the difference is the first person who started answering right away, they wake up after a half hour and realize they've got 2 more questions to answer, and they're not even done with the first one yet. And they wake up and then they panic. Then things really go to waste. Okay, the other person looks at it. They get to where they answered 80% of the question, and to answer the rest of the part, they put a small little outline in the last minute or two for that hour. They put the rest of the outline, and they put things additionally to be discussed, and they write the little outline, and they put the things to be additionally discussed. Time. In other words, I ran out of time, but look here. Here's the 6 more or 8 more things I was going to talk about. Okay. And in their answer that they wrote, all the key words are underlined. They're not conclusory. They've stated all the rules so they can make proper legal conclusions. They've argued both sides of the equation. Okay, they didn't miss any facts, and they pointed out defects in facts, but they didn't change the facts. Who do you think's getting the better grade? Okay, who do you think's getting the better grade? The organized person who trained for it. Okay, who knows the rules of law, who's disciplined, writes in complete sentences, or the hour and a half for the first question person. Now, so what do you want to be? Which group do you want to be in? Do you want to get misled, or do you want to have true knowledge? So again, do law school grades depend only on final exam performance? You betcha. The pitfalls of the Socratic method in changing facts and how that leads to very, very poor exam results. The provocation of independent thought, which is rule-based. And once you know the rules, you can have independent thought. And then we gave you a small example of how you should conduct yourself in a law school exam, where all your entire grade depends on the law school exam. Which person do you want to be? Paul D. Owen, Law School Success, frequently asked questions and questions you should ask. Thanks for listening to the lecture. Hope we conveyed some valuable information to you to save you time, money, and effort. Go to the site at www.bsmsphd.com. You can get all the rest of the lectures for free by just subscribing, and we even have some free offers for you for if you're a 1L law student. So go to the site at www.bsmsphd.com, sign up, get the rest of your lectures for free and some free product. Paul D. Owen, Law School Success. You've come to the right place.